Welcome to Biz Wire. I'm Joseph Nordstrom in Beijing. China is trying to transition away from low-cost manufacturing and move up the value chain in a range of industries, from communications equipment and now, perhaps more newsworthy, missile defense systems. Last month, a little-known Chinese defense company, China Precision Machinery Export-Import Corporation, surprised the military-industrial establishment in Washington, Brussels, and Moscow by winning a $3 billion contract from NATO ally Turkey. The New York Times reports that the sale was especially unusual because the Chinese missile defense system known as the HQ-9 might not be compatible with existing NATO equipment. The Times writes that China Precision is also subject to sanctions from the United States for selling technologies that the U.S. says could help Iran, Syria, and North Korea develop unconventional weapons. The Times reports that in the past, Chinese companies have been known mainly as suppliers of small arms, but that is changing quickly. From drones to frigates to fighter jets, Chinese state-owned firms are aggressively pushing foreign sales of high-tech hardware, mostly in the developing world. Senior military industry analyst in London with IHS Janes, Guy Anderson, estimates that China was still a decade away from competing head-to-head with Western nations on the technology itself. But Chinese equipment is priced lower and could become popular in emerging markets, including in African and Latin American nations. Retired Major General in China's People's Liberation Army, Xu Guangyu, says that besides pricing, Chinese companies had another advantage, as they do not, quote, make demands over other government status and internal policies. But Russia Today reported that, according to experts, Turkey had its reasons to prefer the Chinese deal, and they had nothing to do with the price of the systems. Chairman of think tank Bilgasam and a former high-level officer in the Turkish army, Atilla Sandikli, told Reuters that China's offer of transferring the design technology to Turkey was the decisive factor in its decision. Turkey did say, however, that the purchase was not final and that it could back away if its allies' concerns about compatibility proved to be true. On October 10th, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute published an analysis that says Chinese officials have failed to disclose their customers' identities and the volume and value of those exports. The report does say, however, that China is largely in line with international treaties governing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, but its global dealings in small arms are shadowy and potentially helpful to anti-U.S. factions abroad. The Stockholm Institute says until the early 2000s, China was considered a serial proliferator of materials associated with the production of weapons of mass destruction, but has come full circle in adhering to international non-proliferation treaties. China's military exports have been on the rise in recent years, with the Stockholm Institute ranking it as the world's fifth biggest arms supplier in the 5 years to 2012. The Turkey deal shows China's arms sales have moved up the value chain and in terms of focused geographies, and away from just supplying its neighbors Pakistan and Myanmar. You're watching Biz Wire on the Blue Ocean Network, China's first and only privately owned broadcast media. All of our stories can be seen on our website, BONTV/biz-wire. In just a second, we will continue with more insight into the big picture of China's economy.